First off, let's set the context. I wonder if you could give us an insight into your involvement into this bill, Senate Bill 1979, the anti-teen pregnancy bill. What work did you do around this?
Yeah, PLCPD, or the Philippine Legislators Committee on Population and Development, is a group of legislators from the House and Senate who work together for a particular set of legislative agenda on human development. And the prevention of adolescent pregnancy is one of the legislative priorities of our group since the 17th Congress. So we provide assistance to the authors by linking them with experts, providing data and studies, participating in the committee deliberations, and providing support through technical assistance during the plenary deliberations on the bill.
Okay. Ms. Quilala, I would like to follow that up with the question, what seems to have happened at the Senate level? Because in the Congress level, as I understand it, the House bill has kind of passed. So they're just waiting for SB 1979, which has been quote-unquote ignored. That's what everyone is saying. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, the House bill was approved as early as September 2023. What happened was in the Senate, it was sponsored in the plenary earlier on March 8, 2023. And then it was lined up for plenary deliberations and interpellation since August. And several legislators are lined up to interpellate. And so far, Senator Zubiri, Senator Pimentel, Senator Tolentino have stood up to ask their questions, and most of their questions are on sexuality education. But in December, late December, there was a group of a video became viral, spreading this information about sexuality education and what the sexuality education in this bill is all about. And so it was picked up, and then some legislators from both houses spoke out against the bill. Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, the president said that he read Senate Bill 1979 in detail, and he described it with very strong words. He said this was abhorrent, this was a travesty on what sex education should be. These are woke absurdities. What would you react to that? Why did he say those descriptions towards the bill? Did he, happen to, do you think he read the right bill here?
Yeah. We were actually surprised and disappointed. And actually, I'm asking, are we reading the same bill? Because the words that he used, the words that he said he read in the bill are actually not found in the bill. And in fact, on Friday, when he was interviewed, he came out with a very supportive statement. And I think we can say that the president still is, up to now, pro CSE, comprehensive sexuality education, because he's been saying that CSE is very important. It should help prevent children from early pregnancy, from HIV, so teach them some skills on how to protect themselves. And we agree. This is what CSE is about. And we guarantee the president and all the parents who are concerned, and all the stakeholders who are concerned, that this is the CSE that the Senate Bill 1979 is all about. It's age and development appropriate, and it's culturally sensitive. And it's based on standards of the Department of Education.
Okay. Ms. Quilala, let me just bring it back to former Senate President Miguel Zubiri. He did give a press con earlier today. He wanted to clarify where he stood with regard to the bill. And what he said was that he fully supports, the part of the bill which helps teens or adolescents who find themselves pregnant. But he was less supportive of the CSE aspect of the bill. Would this pretty much jive with what he discussed in the Senate plenary when he questioned the bill?
Yes, he is really concerned about sexuality education. And when he did not officially interpolate, it was an interjection. He said that he has studies that said children or students who are exposed to sexuality education tend to have early sexual initiation. And it really goes against the evidence, because we have evidence from all over the world that says comprehensive sexuality education, when taught correctly and appropriately, uh, help children decide to delay early sexual initiation, and to avoid risky sexual behavior.
Senator Risa Ontiveros has also spent a lot of time explaining and re-explaining the bill and certain provisions in it, how this differs from, I think, the main issue that was in that Project Dalisay video, which is that video that went viral that everybody has watched. And she has said that we don't per se step by step, point by point, follow the foreign or the European model. So, can you talk us through very quickly just the finer points of the CSE that will be taught here in the Philippines, should this bill pass?
Yeah, because a lot of the misinformation seems to have stemmed from people's interpretation of certain provisions in the WHO European provisions, European guidelines, right? Which I don't think we are going to be adopting.
Actually, there are two contentious points there. Teaching 0 to 4-year-olds how to masturbate, and the second one is the right of
Allowing children to
allowing
try
children to try different
sexualities, which
sexualities, just
again,
to put the context to the
right,
conversation.
right. But again,
Yeah.
these two provisions are not in the Senate bill that we're talking about. But go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's not in the bill. It was never in any of the versions since the 17th Congress. So what this bill talks about in Section 6 is age and development appropriate comprehensive sexuality education. So DepEd is being mandated to implement comprehensive sexuality education. It says that it has to be medically accurate, culturally sensitive, rights-based, inclusive, and non-discriminatory towards LGBTQIA adolescents. So there's nowhere there that says masturbation will be taught in schools and to children. And the bill lists some topics, including human sexuality, informed consent, adolescent reproductive health, contraceptive use, disease prevention, and all those that the president mentioned earlier, and even in his statement today, that should be part of the CSE. So we wonder where the fear or the allegations come from.
According to DepEd Order 31, this is already being taught in schools, comprehensive sexual education, integrated into different learning areas such as PE, Araling Panlipunan, Science, etc. What would change here with this bill in terms of the way the curriculum is carried out? And how about the oversight function as to making it, as you say, appropriate for the age, and I guess with very carefully crafted according to our culture and religion and all the other considerations here in our country? Who would have that oversight?
The bill doesn't create a new sexuality education. It's based on the what's already existing sexuality education being implemented by DepEd. But this bill only strengthens because the reproductive health law, which mandates the CSE, is not very detailed when it comes to the sexuality education. So for this one, it says that CSE will be taught in schools. It will be DepEd who will implement this, but with the guidance or in collaboration with the assistance of the council that's being organized through this bill, the Council for the National Council for the Prevention of Adolescent Pregnancy. Other provisions that are relevant or related are it ensures that CSE will also reach those who are out of school, and it has a provision for CSE for parents and guardians. So parents will also be guided on how to talk to their children about sexuality. And it also guarantees that there will be training of teachers, guidance counselors, and all the other implementers of CSE in school. So this is a very beautiful and comprehensive bill, because it ensures that those who will carry out or implement CSE are trained and will know that what they are implementing is based on the standards that will be set
I'm
or that is
curious.
set by the Department of Education in consultation with the council.
Okay, Ms. Quilala, I'm just curious, no, as you were shepherding this bill through 3 Congresses, 17th, 18th, and 19th Congress, what kind of resistance did it meet, and how did you guys address any of those, through stakeholder consultations? I imagine that always happens when you're pushing forward the legislation. Were these issues not tackled in the stakeholder consultations prior to the drafting of the bills?
Yeah, we were actually surprised that there is resistance, particularly on sexuality education, because even in the reproductive health law, this is the one provision that did not meet such resistance. Uh, and it was not struck down by the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court upheld its constitutionality. In the 3 Congresses that this bill has been discussed, we did not hear any objection. And we know that not only favorable organizations were invited, the committees who were in charge invited even those who are against reproductive health or against this measure. But we did not hear such resistance from any group about sexuality education.
So you were surprised when this video came out. It seemed to be, it was quite long, first of all. I watched the
Yeah.
whole thing, and it was very well produced. Did it shock you, seeing that?
Yes. In December, no, in late December, we were shocked by the virality of this video. And the spokesperson of the group is former Chief Justice Sereno, who were one of those who wrote the decision on the Supreme Court's on the constitutionality of the reproductive health law in 2013 in the Supreme Court. And some of the groups behind Project Dalisay were even supporters of the reproductive health law in last decade, in the discussions last decade. So we were surprised.
Do we know what happened there? No? What?
I think they're bothered by maybe we don't have the same values on how to protect children, and they're bothered by the bill empowering children
Yeah.
with information.
I wanted to flesh out one of the things you said earlier, which is that it aims to be culturally sensitive. What exactly does that mean? Who defines culturally sensitive here, and how will that play out in action? For instance, do we have any idea how concepts like gender fluidity will be tackled in the Philippine context, given very stringent, Christian and Islamic views on family life?
Yes, the Department of Education, as what they did with the existing CSE standards, they called for consultations with stakeholders as they drafted the CSE standards that are being rolled out now. So this is to make sure that what will be part of the CSE standards are, yeah, culturally sensitive. So, we don't want to put anything that is not really acceptable in our culture. And we are confident that the Department of Education will not put anything there that will not be acceptable to parents, to the parents of their learners.
Right, right. But acceptable is a very relative term. Of course, it's very subjective, right? What's acceptable to you may not be acceptable to me, and that's the balance. That's going to be the holy grail for the DepEd, ed, right? So you're saying they will have the last say as far as CSE being culturally sensitive is concerned.
Yes, and based on the consultations with stakeholders and of course the inputs of experts, because we also have to have, of course, scientific evidence and standards as they have to have that as they craft the standards.
Ms. Quilala, some are arguing that this bill may take away the rights of parents to educate their children. Why do you believe that this should be done through the academic institutions with the school as the primary stakeholder in giving that knowledge instead of having it in the homes? Because I talk about this because the conservatives could argue that they have a different set of beliefs. And dun pa lang medyo alanganin na. I mean, the conversation, how it is spoken, the language used, you're going to have a lot of teachers to guide with the sex education. What do you say about that? I mean, is it this also better taught in the home rather than in the
Yeah.
school?
It's best taught in the home, and we also believe that it's the parents' primary responsibility. The parents are the ones who are primarily responsible. But there's also the reality that in our country, uh, parents do not really talk about sex with their children, and children do not really seek that kind of conversation from their parents. There's a study from the Young Adult Fertility and Sexuality Study that says the source of information for young people is not the number one source is not their parents, it's the internet and then their peers. So what we can do about this is for the state to support uh, the teaching of sexuality education through trained professionals, and that those are the teachers, so that children will receive accurate information, because it's very dangerous if children just rely on the internet.
What does the data say now about teenage pregnancy in the Philippines? I believe it has been on the decline. Yung huli ko nakitang datos, so from 2017 to 2022, medyo pababa na. What has worked in that phase, and how is it now? Is it on the rise
Yeah.
again?
Teenage pregnancy, just like the fertility rate of other age groups, is on the decline for the 15 to 19. But what we are bothered about, what is really concerning, is the pregnancy among the very young adolescents, or those in the age group 10 to 14, because the number is increasing. And for 2022 to 2023, I think it increased by one third, or 33%, and then it still increased in 2023. And when we look at the ages of the fathers of the children born to children 10 to 14 years old, they are much, much older. They're older than uh, they're adults, basically. So we are also seeing the child abuse, sexual abuse dimension in this situation, because it's not children having relationships, having boyfriends, and then getting pregnant, but it's a result of abuse. And we know that sexuality education, empowering children, teaching them about their body parts, how to protect their privacy, what is consent, and why shouldn't anyone touch them. Um, and it's very important.
And how do we allay fears that our group of teachers in the academic sector will
Capable.
have the professional capability to talk about these things? I mean, that's probably a huge concern amongst parents, leaving that responsibility to teachers. Ano yung parang, do we have standards or way to put guardrails on that end, assuring the safety of the children in the academic space to talk about something as sensitive as this?
To add to that, no, Ms. Quilala, is the DepEd Order 31 from 2018, is that the guideline that still rules how that is taught in schools?
Yes, the guidelines issued in 2018, that's the one that's existing, that's being used now. But of course, if this bill passes with this provision, it will be enhanced and strengthened. And to answer the question on how do we ensure, the authors thought that it's important to put here training of teachers, so that they are equipped, uh, because we know that not all teachers might be ready to discuss this with the students. So teachers will also be trained, and everyone who will be involved in the implementation of the sexuality education.
Right.
And of course, there are child protection policies as well. So we know that existing in DepEd. So we know that children
Right.
are protected.
Right. Very good to hear that there are all these sorts of guardrails. We'll discuss this more in the coming days, but for now, thanks so much for your time. Maria Aurora Quilala, Deputy Executive Director of the Philippine Legislators Committee on Population and Development.